everyone, welcome back to Radiant Memoirs. I am your beautiful co-host, Tia B, and to the left of me I have
Raisha.
We are so excited for you all to tune back in with us for our next episode. This episode we'll be talking about when to seek therapy. Yes, we said therapy. Therapy is that word that scares a lot of people, but we promise you we'll dive deep into it and share personal experiences that we've had when it relates to therapy. Disclaimer though, we are not therapists, but what we can talk about is our personal experiences and our journeys, and that's basically why we're here today. We do have a definition for you all. It comes from Psychology Today. Therapy is psychotherapy, also called talk therapy, or usually just therapy. It is a form of treatment aimed at relieving emotional distress and mental health problems. So I think that goes into our first question, right, Raisha?
Yeah.
So what would that be?
What have you experienced that made you want to seek therapy?
I wasn't one of those people that wanted to seek therapy off rip because I was one of those people that were scared. I didn't know the type of therapist I would have wanted. I didn't know what I would want to talk about. You know, and to be in therapy, you will have to be vulnerable. You'll have to share a lot of things about yourself. And at that moment in my life, I was not ready to do that. So I was like, no, I don't want to go to therapy. That's not for me. I don't need to go. Yeah. So for the longest, I ignored it. But what led me to seek therapy ultimately was that I noticed issues and patterns that I developed over time. So for me, my issues and or the patterns that I learned about myself is that I became a people pleaser. Yes. So I would notice that I did more for other people. And not that I expected to get anything back, but it was like a disconnect, almost like an imbalance. Like the more and more I would do for other people, it wasn't getting reciprocated back to me. And I thought like if I could prove myself to maybe those people or prove myself then in and then out, I could earn their approval. And tie in with the people pleasing, tie in with me not learning how to set my boundaries properly. It was just a whole spiral for myself. And I found myself, I think I talked about this on our previous episodes, but I found myself in a deep depression. I found myself not really fully trusting my own self. And that triggered my anxiety. And it was just a whole cycle to the point where I realized that, okay, I don't have to hide from therapy. I need it. So I was listening to an episode of Therapy for Black Girls. And through that episode, I was able to find a directory. And in that directory, that's how I ended up finding, for, of course, Black therapists. But in that directory, I found my therapist that I talked to today. I've been talking to her for about 2, maybe 3 years.
Okay.
And literally, I have never had so much of an insightful look at my own life and at my own issues with boundary setting and issues with myself and learning how to love myself again. You know, I didn't realize that I had so much of those issues until I started talking to somebody that was able to help me move back those curtains that I tried so hard to put up, or move back those walls that I tried so hard to put up. That I didn't really realize that I had put up to begin with. So with my therapist, I realized that therapists in general, they're there to help you to realize something that was already there and unpack those things. They're not there to tell you what to do and how to do it. They're only there to be a person that offers, you know, of course, their expertise and of course, like what treatments you could take and things like that. But ultimately, they're there to be that, I guess, mirror, if that makes sense. So you can bounce things off of. At least that's who my therapist is for me. And she has never judged me. Never once have I felt like my business has been someplace else. So that's a great thing. And she just sees me, especially as a Black woman too. What about you?
I think I was a junior in college. And think my grandmother was in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I was just always angry. Like I used to be like a very angry person. Like my attitude was just horrible,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was just overwhelmed. And Georgia State, they offered students free sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, why not? Like, let's just go
Yeah.
and just see what it is. It wasn't like someone called me up and said, okay, well, this is something that you need to do,
Mm-hmm.
or because it wasn't something that was talked about in my circle of friends, or in our community. Um, I had never talked to like my parents or anything or anyone in my family. They said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you probably need to go see a therapist or a counselor. So that was one. But I went and they told me something that always stuck with me. And this was the time that I didn't have a relationship with my dad. And that's where the anger started coming from. So
Mm-hmm.
they made me realize that, in order for you to heal and you to get closure from this and
Mm-hmm.
move forward, you're going to have to forgive him. And I said, well, how can I forgive a person when I don't know how to talk to them, or they may not want to talk to me? And he said, you don't have to get closure from a person by having a conversation with them. You can write a letter to them. You can write a voice note to yourself. He gave me all of these avenues, and I was like, oh man, this man don't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it just wasn't resonating. I was like, yeah, no. I didn't. At this point, I was so angry because I just felt abandoned. I graduated college and we were living in North Carolina at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This was 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my stepmom, we have a great, awesome relationship. Like she's my second mom. And even though they're no longer together, we still have a very great relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like my kids call she's grandmother, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so she called me and she said, "Your dad wants your number." And I just felt like that was just so. I'd never had anyone to do that, to consider my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she called me, I just really appreciated that, because she was like, I just want to make sure that it's okay if I give your dad your number. So she gave him my number. We talked, and at that point, I had a kid. I had Langston, and I told him, I was like, "Hey, you can come in and out of my life, but you would not do that to my child. Like, I'm your child, but you would not do it to my child. Like, I would not allow you to put false anything over him. Like, don't tell me you're gonna do something, you don't show up, because at the end of the day, me and his dad gonna be the ones that have to have this conversation with him after the fact that of you being absent." I was so angry at one person that didn't even have substance in who I was as a person, even though he was my dad, but he didn't have that substance. And not to bash him or anything, because I love my dad. Like, I accept him for who he is. And I felt like I wasn't mature enough to understand that I have to accept people for where they are, not where I want them to be. So therapy, like, it helped me gravitate to like this portion of my life where I'm like, when people turn a blind eye to my mishaps, or are not there for me or support me the way that I want them to support me, I'm like, it's not me, it's you, because that's your insecurity and you're trying to brush that on me, and I'm not going to allow that. For such a long period of time where I did allow my dad's absence to dictate how I showed up in my relationships and my friendships. And it was always anger. And it was, I guess it would be a little bit of jealousy, because it was like, man, you guys got both parents and I only got one, knowing that I had my grandmother and my mom. But it's like, I wouldn't change that for the world. Now being the person that I am now, it's like, I wouldn't change any of that for the world, because it's like, it made me who I am, to, love from within, and to seek myself. So I would say that that's what made me want to seek therapy because I don't want to be angry anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up every morning like mad at the day.
I think that's how you have to go into things, like understanding like the power that lives within you.
Yeah.
True power. And understand like you are a blessing in your life and also to other people.
Yep.
That some people may see that and some people don't.
Yeah.
But most importantly, like you see it and God sees it. So yeah.
Self-love.
Self-love. That's what it is. Honestly, it goes into our next question.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved how you talked about how your perspective kind of changed over time.
Yeah.
And so with seeking therapy, how have you evolved over time? Because you talked about more so like how your relationships have changed.
Yeah.
And how you view things, but how have you been?
I feel like I've been like the best mentally. I've been the best that I've been. I put out what I want to receive.
Yeah.
And that's in everything. Relationships, friendships, positivity. I try not to harper on negativity. But I would say that therapy has helped me to be more of a calm person. To seek God.
Yeah.
And to want that relationship with Him myself, for myself, and not because someone else wanted it for me. I love to give people love that I didn't have.
But honestly, that's breakthrough. That's how you know you're getting somewhere and you're actually evolving.
Yeah.
But understand too that everybody's journey in therapy is different. Yeah. I know mine was too. I wasn't the person that jumped in and said, "Oh, I'm gonna open up. I'm gonna open can. I'm gonna tell all my business." Like I was very rigid for like quite some time, and I didn't really realize that I really was that kind of person. I really didn't realize until I was like, "Oh my gosh, I have issues with like opening up to people." But I had to realize that for myself. I don't know if it was like a defense mechanism. Or most likely it is. And now that I see that it was, I kind of figured out how to change my heart. Yeah. And then that ultimately changed my perspective. And also changed my perspective on how I view therapy or how I view opening up in therapy too. Yeah. Because that's a huge important part of it.
Yes, you can go to therapy, but you can also not do the work afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Afterwards too.
I feel like that also goes into what we're talking about as far as understanding how to figure out which therapist is right.
Yeah.
So you said you laughed with your therapist. That was the main. I love that so much, and I feel like it stuck out to me mostly because I feel like laughter is one of the most beautiful things that we can experience as humans. Especially when it's shared with somebody. It just hits a part of your being and also your heart when it's with somebody somebody that has seen all kinds of parts of you, has literally seen you come out of that veil. It's like they're there to kind of see that, but it's also nice to share laughter here and there. And I think that's just beautiful from my experience too, because I share laughs with my therapist. She just gets the fact that we're all moving in this world, we're all learning in this world, and it's fine to take a pause and rest, truly rest. And sometimes with that rest, it comes laughter, and I feel like that's also a form of healing. If you're ever thinking about, or maybe even uh, like whether you're uncertain about seeking therapy, just know that there's somebody out there that understands you. But you have to want to do that. You have to want to make that change for yourself. Thank you. You have to want to grow. And you have to want to understand the parts of yourself that may not be so easy to understand. But that's okay. I feel like we're examples of the fact, or we're examples of what happens when you go into therapy wholeheartedly. And I want that for everybody in my relationships, you know. And I feel like for me, the most important form of therapy has been getting closer to God. We already know he can heal any type of wound you have, you know. But I feel like specifically he puts people on this earth, besides status, besides expertise, to be a part of that healing journey with you. And it just so happens to be therapists. So there are steps you can take to find the right therapist for you.
I feel like, you know, like even like trying to find the right therapist, like you just have to feel right. You'll know. You'll know. I've been through a lot of therapists. But yeah, like I can't explain the feeling. Like it's warm. I guess I can't explain the feeling. Like it's warm. It feels safe.
Ooh, I love that word.
Like safety.
Yeah. It's safety. You don't feel threatened. Hopefully.
And I love her.
I
love her. Like I love her because she has helped me really identify who I am. And truly just like seeing a different part of myself that I didn't see or that I knew was there, but she, you know, she really brought it to the surface. Yeah. That brings us to our radiant bank question of the day. If your therapist was a superhero, what would their superpower be, and how has it assisted you on your personal growth journey?
I love this question. I love this question because it made me think about my therapist and just how she acts during our sessions. The superpower I could think of is a power of love. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I feel like it's a client therapist dynamic, but I feel like in those spaces, love is still shown. I think that it's so sacred to be in. I've felt very safe and very secure in that space because I feel like she has shown a type of love to me because I've seen it in how she asks me questions and how she takes time to listen to me. That's patience. We already know love is patient. Love is kind. You know, it's not boastful. That was one of the main things I was looking for out of a therapist. I would say that's a superpower, love, and that only comes from God because God is. So I feel she was put into my life for a purpose, and she has been a pivotal part in my life through leading me into the woman I am today.
I would probably say time travel.
Really? Ooh.
I want her to travel. I wouldn't say to the future because I want my future to be a surprise.
Yeah.
I want to be excited about it. Like when it happens. But like more so my past, just so that she is able to really understand me and understand and like navigate me to, well, help me to navigate life for the future.
Is there like a reason why you chose time travel in regards to like how it relates to your therapy journey now?
And I feel like I wish I would have did it sooner than I did and not waited until college. But that's probably the reason why I would want her to be a time traveler.
Yeah.
Just so she can see like this is why she's this way.
Imagine if all our therapists were time travelers. That would be a whole nother conversation.
Girl, like, why don't they come to me sooner?
Why not? Like, it took forever. Like, you know, the stuff I had to sit through and dive through and dig through.
This child of God
struggling. What took you so long? But
now you
I feel like that's a question you can ask yourself too. What took you so long to say yes? I want to go to therapy.
But in my defense, I would say now you have the knowledge of
not in my defense.
In my defense, listen. In my defense, I would say the reason why I didn't do it because I didn't know anything about it. Yeah, you know.
And you say you weren't mature at that time to
I wasn't
be in that space to say Me neither. It's okay.
It was toxic.
It was a time.
It was a time that was being hated. Okay, but it's okay because God has delivered me from that.
Amen.
And we are on to bigger and better things.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah.
Thank you all for tuning in to this very special, very in-depth conversation that we had for Radio Memoirs. We were so happy for you all to tune in today, and we hope you all took a gem or a nugget from this conversation. We'll take it into your life, and we hope it inspires your own therapy journey. Again, you can follow us on all our social media platforms. You can follow us on what?
TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Oh, and Spotify.
And like always, you can catch up with us, shoot us an email if you love our content. Again, peace, love, and light to all of you, and we'll see you soon. Take care.